I have this big pile of lumber in my workshop since it was built. It's mainly construction lumber and scrap wood, and it's taking a significant amount of floor space, so I need to organize it somehow. I designed these racks in SketchUp. At first, I wanted to put one rack on every wall stud, but I realized it would be an overkill, so I'll put a rack on every second stud. And the main part of these racks are these vertical boards, which will be mounted to the walls, and the horizontal parts will be mounted to them. I took one 2x6 and one 2x4. I will rip this 2x6 into 3 equal pieces and the 2x4 into 2 pieces. First, I cleaned one edge of both boards on a table saw. Then I set the table saw fence to 40 mm and ripped both boards into 5 equal pieces. I used magnets to locate the studs and then marked straight vertical lines so the magnets could be removed. I decided to use these 100 mm screws to secure the vertical pieces to the studs. The pieces are 40 mm thick, the drywall is 12 mm, so if I drive the screws a bit deeper, they should go at least 50 mm into the studs. I attached all 5 vertical pieces to the wall, then I marked the lines for the horizontal pieces with a spirit level. What I realized after doing this is that electrical outlets would be obstructed by the lumber stacked on these racks, so I decided to shift the horizontal pieces of the racks by about 60 mm. I needed 25 horizontal pieces in total, so I cut them 50 cm long with my circular saw, planed them on the jointer, then I ripped them to 70 mm wide pieces on my table saw, and finally ran them through a thickness planer to make them all 40 mm thick. Then I slightly changed my plans. At first I was thinking to simply screw all the pieces together, but then I thought the construction would be much stronger if I would make the horizontal pieces inlaid into the vertical ones, like this. So I unscrewed the vertical pieces from the wall and marked the spots I will need to make the grooves at. I put the crosscut slat on my table saw, adjusted the blade height at 10 mm, and cut the grooves. I checked the fitment and then cut the rest of the grooves on all 5 pieces. I then drilled 2 holes from the back of each groove and then attached the pieces with 80 mm screws. When all of these horizontal pieces were installed, I had to fabricate the diagonals to prevent them from sagging over time from heavy weight. I marked 30-degree angle on one end of the board and 60-degree angle on another end, so in total they make 90 degrees. I milled some more lumber to get 25 pieces of around 35 cm long and 7 cm wide, and here I reached the trickier part of this build, which is cutting the 30 and 60-degree angles. For the 60-degree angle, it was not that complicated, but this method was not gonna work with 30-degree angle. I had to find a different solution. So I marked the cut line, then I clamped this board to act as a fence for my circular saw, made the cut, and checked the angle. It was almost perfect, so I proceeded with cutting all of these diagonals at 30 degrees. After all the pieces were cut, it was time to attach them to the rest of the construction. I clamped all the horizontal pieces together, and then I marked the lines with a speed square where the diagonals should be attached. Then I pre-drilled the holes for the screws, which will be fitted from behind, and then holes on the diagonal pieces themselves. I decided to put an 80 mm screw on this narrow section and a 100 mm screw on the thicker section. I also used one 80 mm and 100 mm screw to attach these diagonals from the back. When all the pieces were assembled, I decided to cut the ends of all horizontal pieces to make them less sharp. I used this off-cut piece as a fence for the circular saw. I clamped it in place and made the cut. I did the same with all 25 pieces, and it was time to screw these racks back onto the wall. As I had marked the walls previously, it was a quick job now. These racks made of pine and spruce were lightweight, so it took probably 10 minutes to put them back in place. Now it was time for a scientific durability test. The horizontal pieces had some side-to-side movement, but they did not sag vertically at all. With all the racks in place, now I could finally organize all my stock. I wanted to put the longest and heaviest boards on the 2 lower shelves. After those were in place, I then needed to sort out all the smaller boards and scrap wood. After everything was sorted out, I put the lumber onto the racks and this part of the job was done. Then I vacuumed the floor from all the sawdust which have been collecting here for the last few months, and here's the final result. The stock I currently have doesn't look too pretty, but it will soon be replaced with some high quality lumber like oak, maple and ash. If you found this video helpful, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel. Thank you and have a good one!